This is my favorite game, and if you guys agree, be sure to hit that thumbs up. If you guys don't know what this is Solo Leveling Arise. In today's video, I'm going to be giving all of you guys a beginner guide on Solo Leveling Arise and the things that you need to be focusing on doing when you are playing this game. Now, it's out in some parts of the world, so people have been asking how are you playing it. It's out in some parts of the world currently, but not worldwide until May, so stay tuned for that as well. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. About 80% of viewers currently on Solo Leveling Arise content from my channel are not subscribed, so be sure to subscribe. Do yourself and me a favor as well. So I'm going to be showing you guys some of the tips that I have. So I hope you guys enjoy, and if anybody has any tips that I don't recommend or don't mention here, please post them in the comments, and people viewing, please check the comments for those tips. All right. So the number one thing I want to kind of mention is that this game has an activity fund idle mechanic. So you've probably seen this in a lot of, in fact, majority of idle games. This is literally ripped out of those, but like AFK games. And so it's ripped out of those. So what happens is, as time progresses up to a 24-hour limit, Jinwoo will unlock bonuses here. So it's going to be experience for him. Speaking of subscription, thank you. It'll be gold, and it'll be something else, right? So keep that in mind. Now, particularly when it comes to this, experience is insane to get. So like, just focus on that. If you've seen the series, then you know the importance of experience, because they really try to encapsulate that in this game. Also, gold. I have a lot of it, but that's because I spent a little bit of cash. But anyways, gold is something that's going to be very hard to get. So again, as you get into it, you are going to really want this. You are going to want to make sure that you have this, right? So also, speaking of spending cash, there is a shop pack that's like $6 that will give you bonus rewards here if you want that. So not telling you to get it, but it will help tremendously. Anyway, so activity funds, at least log in once a day to claim this, okay? You need to do that. Even if you don't have a ton of time, you need to do it, because you are going to hit benchmarks with the story and stuff where it's going to be like, oh, reach a certain level, things like that. And that is one of the most passive ways to gain levels. Now, speaking of story, the next most important thing to do is to clear story, right? So we're going to focus on story next. So when you start off, you're going to be all the way over here. Things are going to be sweet. You're going to be progressing pretty easily. You're going to have a ton of fun. Then when you hit about chapter 6, I think maybe it was chapter 5 with the Cerberus fight. I'm not sure, but certainly around chapter 6 is when you start seeing, on one of these last levels, I need to go back and clear some of these again, because when you're clearing story, by the way, you want to get all these trophies so you can get the battle missions for the extra 2 black tickets, which I'll talk about in a moment. But when you get deeper into these stories, you're going to hit a benchmark where it says, make sure that Sung Jinwoo is at level 21 or whatever it is, and you'll see those repeatedly as you go. In fact, I'm all the way over here, and I just got, or I'm about to overcome one. Okay, so this one said I had to be level 41, I think, right? Something like that. I just hit it. So anyway, you're going to see those periodically, and you get a crap ton of experience from story. So you will level up a lot simply by playing the story. See right here, I'm going to get 24,000 experience. That matters a lot, right? So do not skip. Clear the story. Do not at all skip the side chapters. The side chapters will passively unlock as you go. They are an extremely easy way to get resources and experience. Do not skip them. Make sure, you might as well just clear them in order, unless you're in a hurry to blitz through to later chapters. But like I said, it's going to lock you down anyway. So you might as well clear them, get the experience from them, so you don't have to worry about trying to go to other things like gates or being patient with the activity fund, things like that. Ultimately, around chapter 6, you also unlock hard mode. So when you hit roadblocks later on, then focus on the hard mode and do the same thing, because you get a lot of experience from hard mode as well. So when you hit roadblocks later, if you have hard mode, you can shuffle over here and clear these as well. You will get the rewards and all that stuff too, but make sure you're clearing story mode. Don't skip much. Go through it as much as you can. I just skipped these. I need to come back, right? Don't skip too much. And also, when you're clearing them, I mentioned it a moment ago, make sure you're getting all these trophies done, because they also drop 15 extra essence stones. So you get the first clear, which is 50, and then each trophy gives you 15. And then when you have all the trophies for an entire chapter done, you get 2 more tickets here. So you get 4 black tickets total. Now that's a good segue. We'll talk about gates in a moment, because they're the next most important thing, but that's a good segue into challenges. So these are like a group of missions. So as you are playing the game, you will unlock, well, they will have these mission requirements basically for you. Now, there are other missions that are like daily missions and blah, blah, blah. But these challenges are important because they'll tell you clear a certain chapter or draw 15 times, level up hunters, things like that. And you want to make sure you are doing these as you go. The reason why is because they are not retroactive. For example, on the current chapter I'm on, I have cleared more than 5 encore missions. In fact, because chapter 5 made me clear like 10 of them. So you have to do it as they arise. That's funny. Pun intended, I guess. So keep that in mind. You might as well just follow this list as well while you're clearing the story. If you're looking for other things to do, try to get all of these objectives done as you go. So that way you're not stuck in a position where you have to replay story stages or whatever. Also, there are going to be some missions where it's like use a certain teammate on your team. Like Jinwoo pops up in one of them for his chapter introduction. I'm not sure why it's lagging there. Anyway, he pops up, so you can unlock him here for free. Ultimately, you also get an SSR weapon, which will wind up being the scythe down here. And as you see, there's a lot of black tickets for each completion of these chapters. There's a bunch of other stuff in here, like gold that you'll need, but the black tickets are right here. Now, the black ticket is the main one for the select draw. That is going to, I'm assuming, be the permanent draw. It says it's 100 days, but, you know, maybe it'll be here permanently. That one is up just indefinitely. So when you start off on this banner, you can choose 4 items, or which will be weapons for Jinwoo, or characters, right? Popular rate ups are the ones that most people are selecting. I have my list a little bit differently because I've already gotten most of the stuff except for the stuff that I have selected. So dupes are important in this game, just like any other game, but I wouldn't say they're the single most determining factor. A lot of the weapons are really good without it. However, some of them really like a dupe or two to really be good, but there's a lot of dupes that can be invested in characters and weapons as well. I'm not even going to just disappoint you with that, because ultimately to max out some of this stuff, it's going to be a lot of dupes. Not 4 or 5, a lot. Anyway, so don't worry about that. But just the first thing I'll say here is choose the characters you like. And also, don't get discouraged if you get anything you don't like in particular. All this stuff right now at the time of the recording of the video is good. It just depends where you're taking it. For example, some of these weapons are going to be really good in certain pieces of content. For example, people will struggle with Egress, which is like chapter 8 or whatever, but this weapon blitzes through that stage and the stage before, which is a double boss stage, because of type advantage. This game also features type advantages, and you'll see on each story stage or each piece of content you take on, in the bottom corner, it'll tell you which advantages, which elements to use on each stage, right? So anyway, all this stuff's mostly good, but the popular rate ups are the ones that most people are choosing, and they're doing it for good reason, because these are the things that you mainly are going to want to go for. Byung-gu is a healer. I don't know if this list changes in the future. The Plum Sword is just an offensive marvel, does a crap ton of damage, crits all over the place. It's really good. But again, I really like the Grimoire. I really like this sword. I don't really like the Scythe. That's my least favorite item here. And these two are original characters. They're both really good. Emma Lawrence particularly really good on a fire/burn team with Choi Jong in here. This will probably be gone because it's on a rate up, or it's the current rate up banner. This will most likely be gone depending on when you watch this video. I'm also skeptical on him because I think he's gonna fall off kind of fast. We've already got a data mine for like Chahin, and the next character's popping up, and he is not looking anywhere near as good as them. And I also think his inability to crit is going to make him fall off sooner than other characters, so he might wind up being a little bit of bait if you're playing now. Anyway, that doesn't mean he's not good, and he'll be good for a long time because the game is so new, right? But nonetheless, I think he may fall off. Anyway, so I brought us here also because the black ticket thing, they're so easy to get. I do not recommend you ever exchange them here. Never use their soul essence on this. I have a video on how to get all this stuff, which I'll leave down below in the description, whether it's black tickets, the soul essences, the spots to get them. I don't want to cover all that in today's video because it would be way too long. I'll leave that in the description for you to check out when you finish this video. It'll also pop up on the screen, but never do that. Just basically just save those for the rate ups and things like that. People are saying the pity transfers from this banner to the next. I'm not particularly sure. Anyway, speaking of pity, when you get to the 64th summon on either of these gachas, I'm pretty sure it happens in either, but what happens is when you get to the 64th summon, the rates start to increase. So on the rate up list, it does show here that starting with the 64th draw of the draw support, the draw rate of the SSR increases by 5.8% each time. So what that, we got another subscription, thank you. So what that means is that when you get around 64, do not do a multi. I always have the problem where I'm at like 60 out of 80, right? And so what happens is I'm going to get an SSR in that multi because at that point the rate keeps going up by nearly 6% and the base rate's like 1.2 or something. And then the rate is split up. Half of it is like unfeatured stuff or unselected rate up stuff, and then the other half is for the rate up selected stuff. Anyway, what happens is at about 60, since it's going to do 60 through 70, you know, it's going to automatically trigger that bonus in there. So I'm going to get an SSR in there. But what you can really do is you can go from 64. If you get lucky, you can go from 64 to 70 and then do a multi. 64 to 70 on singles and then do a multi. It's going to be really hard to do that, by the way. Maybe get to like 67, 68. And that multi will probably yield multiple SSRs because the rates will have just climbed a lot. And that's something that's not specifically clear, but I've seen a lot of people successfully do that. That is your best chance to pull multiple SSRs. It's very hard to do, but you can do it. But don't worry about this banner all too much, though. The characters are going to be here forever. Anyway, the banner seems like it's here forever. Anyway, but now that we've covered that, I want to go into, let's go into the gates. The gates I regretfully am covering kind of late in today's video. But we should have covered them a little bit earlier because they are pretty vital to your progression in the game. So multiple times throughout the video, I talked about what happens when you get stuck, things like that. But gates are here for you to really, really use and get the benefit of. So in gates, first and foremost, when you clear a gate, you also get experience. So keep that in mind. But that's not all. You also get a bunch of rewards. You will need most of this stuff as you progress in the game at some point or another. When you clear every 3 gates you clear, you get a bonus drop of experience for Jinwoo as well. So there's 9,000 here, 12,000 there. If you have that pack I talked about earlier, you get the bonus. In fact, I think they're 2 separate packs, but nonetheless, you get that. So my recommendation is to clear your gates. Use all your gate keys. Do not let this overlap. Do not let this overlap. Clear all your gates. And then come over here and mine. So never, ever, ever let mining go by without having it done. This is another passive AFK thing. You want this done. And as you mine more, you will get better rewards for it. You will go up in your level, your tier here, and it will just get better and better for you. And as you play the game more, you'll unlock higher difficulty gates, which means better rewards, blah, blah, blah. Very easy to understand, you know, concept of the game. But the point is make sure you're always mining and make sure you do not skip running your gates on a daily basis, because the rewards you get and the experience, more importantly, that you get, is very important. You want to make sure that you are clearing that content as much as possible. Now, let's talk about Jinwoo. Let's talk about the hunters as well in this game. So when we are working on Jinwoo, one thing I want to kind of mention is that the most important, it just keeps lagging for me. The most important stat on him is going to be the attack stat. Is it ever going to load? It actually seems like it just crashed. Okay, no, there it is. I'm not sure why it's tripping today. Most important stat on him is going to be attack stat, strength. So each of these stats, the most important thing you need to know about this is each of these stats synergize with one another for the most part, except for defense. It's totally a little bit different. But all the other stats have offensive viability. They all work in conjunction. But one thing you need to know is that pretty much everything in the game scales off of the attack stat. So when we look at the skills and stuff, look at right here, skill 1 right here, 424% of Jinwoo's attack stat. Like everything we're looking at here, if I pull up the ultimate, it's going to say the same thing. It's all basically scaling off of his attack stat. So that is the most important thing here. Now, the rest of it, why you would choose other things, I love this little message, by the way, why you would choose other things depends on the way that you have built Jinwoo. Now, I previously had the plum sword on, and then this one is really good for critical hits. So I would actually, if I had that on, I focused on more strength, agility, and perception, with a lot more focus on agility. Agility is being ignored with my current set. I don't really care much about crit. One thing I will tell you is that this one is solid. The intelligence is solid. Vitality depends on how much you play the game. If you are somebody that's just doesn't struggle from skill issues and you're able to dodge all the time, blah blah blah, you're good. You don't necessarily need this. I'll also tell you that there are other support characters, support skills, things like that offer you shields. You can also use your own skills depending on which weapon you have that will offer you shields and just make you, and also other things like freezing the opponent, stunning the opponent, so where like you can play around having an efficiency in defense. Some people are going to do the manhwa thing where they focus mainly on strength. But what I'll advise you is that Jinwoo does start off putting it all in strength, but later he kind of rounds it out a little bit. When he realizes, oh, hey, I need some of these other things, right? Anyway, but still mostly strength. But anyway, perception also is really strong because what this does is it raises your base level on your damage that you do. So basically the minimum amount of damage you can do is much stronger, because if you are playing the game, you're going to notice some of your hits are going to do like triple digits, and then maybe you'll get a crit and it'll do 5 digits, you know, things like that. So this just brings up your baseline. So that's a really, really important one. I'd actually say that's the second most important stat on this page. And then so for the third one, it depends what you're doing. So I previously on my more important, in my Demon Plum Sword set, the more important stat for me wasn't intelligence, it was agility. So I focused on strength, perception, and agility, and I ignored intelligence and vitality. I didn't really mind not having the MP cooldown with the intelligence because I was just spamming basic attacks, right? So keep that in mind. So also, you know, when it comes to artifacts, I'm also going to change this personally. With artifacts, you can get these from the instance dungeons and encore missions, which you can see in the game modes section. Make sure you're running those as well once you unlock them at least 3 times a day. Use up the keys for that. But here, this also depends on what weapon you're using. Whichever one is the best depends on whatever weapons you're using. So like right now, this set, I liked it with a crit. I'm going to take it off actually and give him more of an offensive set, just flat attack increase. I don't really necessarily need that. We're going to go over to the hunters, and one thing I'll tell you about the hunters is this is where you have to start being really well, also weapons for hunters and Jinwoo. This is where you need to be cognizant of how much gold you're spending. I talked about gold being a premium resource in this game, and the reason why is because gold is used for god dang everything. This game doesn't have a level up item or anything like that, any materials needed to level up characters. It just uses gold, right? So it just uses gold. 15k for 2 levels. That adds up a lot. That adds a lot. Let's actually grab a level 1 character to see how things look now. I actually think she's really fun right here. How much is this? 159 for 100. That is a lot of gold, because there is no gold dungeon, which they should add at some point. There is no gold dungeon or anything like that in the game. So that is something that I would really, really make sure that you are careful about investing in terms of these hunters. I think if you have 3, it depends how many SSRs you have, but if you have 3 to 5 at most characters that you are working on, I'd call it a day at that. Now, that doesn't mean SRs are bad. SRs are really good, actually. Like, I love Iron here because he is so awesome. He's got the high break. He's got the shields and stuff. He's awesome. I love him a lot. I use him a lot, actually. And SRs can be really, really useful if you're infusing dupes into them with the advancement system, because they just get better and better, and they're easier to advance than an SSR would be for obvious reasons. And the same thing applies to weapons as well. It costs a lot of gold for, dude, my game is struggling today, I'm sorry. It costs a lot of gold for weapons, and it costs a lot of gold to advance the weapons as well, just to work on them, things like that, whether it's for hunters or whether it's for Jinwoo. It all costs a lot of gold. I'm gonna have to pause it here, my bad. Yeah, it's tripping because I installed some new stuff for my Stream Deck that I just got, not Steam, Stream. It's like tripping. I think I need to restart my computer. Anyway, so we're almost done though. But yeah, for like weapons as well, it costs a lot. For artifacts, it costs gold. So the point is that gold is used everywhere for everything. So that's why I made an importance on it for clearing your dungeons, things like that. Now, I talked momentarily about encore and instance dungeons. So in encore missions, you'll come over here, and this is where you're farming certain artifact pieces, as you see in these different areas. You can go there, and this is a non-Jinwoo area. You will need to have Jinwoo and other hunters built up, because there are going to be times where you're only able to use one or the other, or times where you use obviously all of them, because it'd be Jinwoo with the support guys in. But there are times where you have to have other characters in, right? So make sure you're worried about that too. And in terms of what you should, I kind of mentioned this earlier, in terms of what you should be targeting if you're starting the game, I would target at least 1 SSR hunter and 1 SSR weapon for Jinwoo. That's what I would target on. So the battlefield here. Now this one's a really good area to play at. Apparently I hit some sort of bug. It stopped letting, I cleared this twice and it never actually registered. So anyway, this is a good area to play at if you're looking for when you unlock this. If you are looking for a big drop of like gold or something like that, this is what happens. So you start getting, in fact, let me go to the hunters area. There's a separate area for Jinwoo, and there's also hunters. As you start playing this, you will get 50k gold drop right there. These other items that you can use for other things, right? All these other things that you need. Then there's 5 black tickets, rinse and repeat every 5 floors. It does the same thing. 60k gold, so on and so forth. Obviously, the bosses are getting higher. The requirements are getting different. Bosses, passives, things like that. All this stuff is changing. But this is an area that when you unlock it, you would want to clear, but you can clear this at your own time. You don't have to do this on a daily basis. You can kind of clear it at your own time. There are no keys or anything like that tied to that. That would be holding you back. So that is mostly everything I would recommend in terms of like trying to do on a daily basis. the general beginner guide, things like that. So from here, I'm going to kind of walk through some of the different areas of the game and kind of explain what they are and how they function. So, I meant to mention this too. In terms of hunters, by the way, I wouldn't really work on hunters and stuff like that all too often unless there's a campaign like this where it's like level up Jinwoo and his hunters, other hunters, you get rewards for it. This is the best time to level up your characters. It costs a lot of gold, so maybe save your gold, level up your stuff in one of these campaign periods where there's an event going and you can get extra rewards to double dip for it. That's what I would recommend. So anyway, we're going to now kind of shoot through. So this is, okay, we're here now. This is just the events tab where they have different events that are kind of ongoing. So not really much here. You've seen a similar menu to this in like Honkai Star Rail, things like that. That's all this really is. It just shows you what's kind of ongoing. And these are some bonuses that I get. Anyway, or the pack that I purchased, I believe. We also have speaking of pack, there's a battle pass. Yay! To no one's surprise, there's a battle pass. The annoying thing about the battle pass is that there is 2 tiers, which is not uncommon. However, they are separate. You have to buy both. If you buy the deluxe, you do not get the premium for free, etc. There's actually 3 tracks. Typically, what happens with battle passes is there are 2 tracks, and then when you buy the super premium one, it actually just gives you like 10 levels or something, right? But no, in this game, they decided to make 3. So what happens here is for 1,500 diamonds, which diamonds exclusively cost money, by the way, you can buy that second track. And then for literally money, you can buy this. I don't know what the difference is, why they would... It's basically the same price. Well, maybe a little bit cheaper for the premium one, but it's like saying, hey, give me money here or buy money in the shop. And you know where the tricky thing is with this? Is that these are really easy to get if you buy other packs. Diamonds oftentimes are bundled into other sale packs that are really, whether depending on who you ask anyway, depending on how you feel about the packs, they could or they may or may not be worth it. But that's typically where diamonds are. So yeah, keep that in mind. But hey, the free track is good. Does offer some good freebies. In fact, we're going to unlock one here. So like there's 250 essence stones. We love that. There's more in another 15 levels. This is up for a long time, another 40 days. I assume that's about when the global launch will be. So keep that in mind as well. But you have time to get these. And as you see, 50k gold there. It's still good. It's just one of those win more things or, you know, better value if you buy more type things. So that's that. This is the inventory area. There's not much really to do here. Every now and again, you'll have a cube that you'll want to claim. In fact, we can do it live in today's video. No, this is the wrong button. We can do it live in today's video. This is another thing that I recommend you do daily, actually. You want to come to the shop because they got the thing going where they put the daily bonus drop in the shop. So that way you're forced to come here and look at the amazing deals that they have, right? They think they're so slick. But we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. So you want to come here every day. Nonetheless, that's only 10, but obviously it'll add up over time. And then you want to claim the freebies here in the special tab. This is nice. 5k gold. Not a ton, but it does mean something. It does add up over time, obviously. And also you want to claim the special supply box. This was actually kind of interesting. I got a 600 essence stone drop from one of these, which was pretty cool. So this is a really fun box. This is why I was in the inventory a second ago. Let's go back there. And we'll open this up. So as you see, it can drop any of the launch SSR weapons or some of the other good stuff here. The keys at the bottom are kind of whatever. You want more keys, I guess. They're kind of whatever. These rune crafters, rune fragments are okay, whatever. But it was 500, my bad. You can get 500, 1,000, or 200 soul essences here, but the rates are pretty atrocious. So for that 5, I got a 3% chance to pull that. Okay, so the rates are pretty bad, but hey, some of you guys probably will pull some fun stuff over your time playing the game. So it's a fun little thing. All right, I got one of the keys, whatever. It was like an instance dungeon or whatever. So yeah, you want to do that though nonetheless once a day because there's a chance you get something good there and you're good. Now, speaking of daily, you want to complete your daily missions. The missions tab is where you will find your daily objectives, and they also have the rewards as well. So again, obviously, you're coming here and completing this, and you will get reputation to level up. When you level up your reputation, I believe you get better rewards is how that works in this game. So anyway, from here, we're going to now shuffle over to artifacts. Now, in terms of like what's the best artifact set, things like that, this game doesn't, in my opinion, have a single best artifact set or anything like that. I don't think any of that exists in this game. The reason why is because artifacts are predicated on what weapon you're using, or which, if it's not a weapon in the case of Jinwoo, which character you're using, right? because some characters will want defensive gear, things like that, because their skills scale off of their defense, or whatever the case is. Artifacts are at your own discretion. Artifacts also have the ability to be in 2s or in 4s to get the set bonuses, right? So you could take 2 pieces of this, 2 pieces of that, 2 pieces of this, 2 pieces of that, etc., and build how you want with a lot of customization. They also have the individual stats that are applied to them, just like any other game with an equipment set system. So each piece has their own like randomized stats. Actually, at the time of the recording, there is no quality of life feature to allow you to re-roll individual slots. I'd assume that's coming at some point, because that's a very common thing to see in these games. So I'm surprised it's not here on launch. Maybe it will be for global launch, I don't know. But yeah, you want to make sure that you are farming the artifacts as well, because artifacts, funny enough, if you start hitting roadblocks, artifacts are what's going to get you over the hump with this game. Artifacts are going to be the single most important factor in terms of leveling up your team and improving their viability in content that's hard for you, because artifacts mean a lot. So keep that in mind. So you can get artifacts from encore missions and instance dungeons. When you unlock these, they unlock a certain chapter benchmarks. When you play the game, you'll see that. So artifacts I would not at all sleep on. You want to make sure that you have a good artifact set on your characters that means that does what you want it to, right? That synergizes with your setup personally. And again, that's on a per player basis. It just depends what you want to personally accomplish with your setup. Now, crafting is something you're never, well, okay, I don't want to say never, but as of now, about a week and a couple days in or whatever it is, I have not ever used this system in a meaningful way. Well, you can come here and craft these skill scrolls, player skill scrolls. This is, by the way, skill scrolls are for leveling up the skills on the characters, because wouldn't you know it, they also can level up all their individual skills. And when you talk about Jinwoo, he has a lot of leveling up to do because he has a lot of skills. And I'm not really going to touch on runes and stuff like that in this video. You don't really need to worry too much about that. But you can also craft weapons here. So each hunter also has their own individual best possible weapon. The downside is that these weapons are not, I mean, for better or worse, depending who you ask, I guess, these weapons are not in the gachas. That's a good thing and a bad thing. But anyway, it's good because they're not in the gachas to weigh it down, but bad because you can't really get these otherwise. In order to get them, you have to craft them. And in order to craft them, you need specific items. Like this one you get from Battlefield of Time. I need a bunch of those. And then these red ones are really hard to get. They're going to be in other areas too. So you can always hit the source button if you want to find it. But crafting is something you're not going to use a ton. At least not, again, to my experience yet. Fusing, you can use a decent bit depending on what you're trying to do. You can come in here and fuse into skill runes, things like that, which is also a good system, because what happens is, and I guess I said I wasn't going to really cover it, but we'll do it. If you're wondering how runes work in this game, this is how they work. So you go to the skills page. This is all of Jinwoo's skills, things like that, where you can level them up, blah, 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 which also, again, requires gold. And now it requires a specific resource, right? As opposed to like leveling up a hunter. But each of the skills here, too, can equip a set of runes. And each rune will trigger a different effect. You see the text on the side completely changes for this one skill. I'm not clicking different skills. These are runes that I can equip on this skill to enhance this skill. So that's how this works. And some of them will apply different elements to them, which is actually really good. It makes Jinwoo insanely versatile. Aside from the fact that he's the only character that can hold 2 weapons in the game currently, it makes him so versatile for content. Anyway, so yeah, you can be in situations where you want to change his skills depending on what content you're taking on. Maybe you want to also change his runes to hit a certain elemental benchmark so you can, you know, get type advantage damage, things like that. It's just, there's a lot of customization here. And you can, again, level up all that stuff. And like I said, I clicked another skill here, and there's another 4. Now, in order to get the ones I'm missing that says not owned, you're going to either get these from special boxes that would be in your gift box. Not gift box, but the inventory, excuse me. You'll get them from some stages. You'll also get them from fusing, where I was just at a second ago. It's also randomized on fusing, things like that. There are higher rarity skills or runes as well, things like that. So runes are a very complex system, but also not, but are. And the cool thing about runes is that they change the entire description of what the attack is doing, but they also have different animations. They went through and animated all these different things differently for each rune. So that's a lot of attention to detail. Runes are very important. They're exclusive to Jinwoo. They're not going to work on any other hunter. Hunters only have artifacts in their own setup and their own skills, but their skills can get leveled up, but they don't have access to any of that. So I guess this is a good segue into our last topic, skills, break skills specifically. So break is extremely strong in this game, and if you are if you ever come across a boss like Igris or Kang, I don't think Kang can actually be broken, but the ones that can have a break on them, you want to make sure you're breaking them, whether that's by putting skills that have the break text on them for Jinwoo, or running support characters with their support skill, which would be right here, support skill. This is where like they're switching in and they're doing their attack. If it has a break on it too, you want that too, because you'll get that break gauge down and it'll trigger a host of effects that are tied to breaking. So I would personally recommend, when it comes to Jinwoo, putting at least one break skill on him. If you have a break support, you can run none and run 2 break support characters. Like Kim here has break on his, I believe, right? Yeah, he does. You can Baek Yoonho's probably one of the best breakers in the game. He's really good for that chapter 8 though with Igris. I would recommend running some breakers on your team though. I would not overlook this because it's vital in the stages it's applied to. Again, not every stage has a break element to it, but that would be really good for you. So in today's video, we covered pretty much everything in the game. Now, not in the best possible order. We could have done better order-wise. But if you watched the entire video, you would have understood or got through pretty much everything. The only thing we didn't really cover was Army of Shadows, because I really don't know a ton about this right now. Also, it's back to tripping, I see. I really don't know a ton about this right now. I haven't really unlocked the other ones, so I'll have to do a separate video for this. So what's going to wind up happening is, for any other videos that are supplementary to this one that I've done, where I talk about, because I'm going to cover this on its entirely separate own thing. Is that Belly on in the back? Is that him? Anyway, I'm going to cover every single thing individually. So when there's another video like that, you guys will see it pop up on the screen, or it'll be in the description as a video that I recommend checking out. But if there's any other guides, you can just search my name on YouTube and type in how to do this, what is that, things like that, and you'll see it as it pertains to this game. So nonetheless, if you guys watch the entirety of the video, you got a bunch of good information out of it. So make sure you subscribe. Also, hit that thumbs up, all that fun stuff. And I've got to say, if there was anything you didn't understand, feel free to rewind it, listen to it again until you get it. All right, guys, I'll see y'all next time. Take care.